So these are the core circles. Now I'm calling the committees the core circles because an Omni-AI is a core. It's not just a system. So it made sense to call it the core circles. All right, so let's get started. I'll tell you kind of what's new. So this is how we're going to run our meeting today. Purpose and recap on what's new in the group, what's coming out of the market. And then we'll do committee 1, committee 2, committee 3 all in a row rather than do breakouts because we can be fast with all this. Hopefully, Ernie, Doug, if you could email them. I know Doug's in a listen-in mode. Ernie and Roland, they need to be on because they're running the other two committees. And then also Mary Schlegelmilk, because I know she's really interested in this. By the way, Mary is going to lock in the facility in Atlanta for the national meeting, late March, it looks like, or early April. So they have a nice facility, but we're gonna have a host hotel too for part of the event. It's gonna be a half-day event so people can fly in the morning, a full-day event, and then a half-day. So that's our plan. And we'll do a lot of work there. It's gonna be like a working conference, so people can get things done, especially apply for grants and consider what grants should say, that kind of thing. Okay, so let me go forward. This is our new main statement on the webpage. We needed to make it clear what the purpose of the group is. This group is aimed at administrative level converged systems with AI and at the dual purpose of transforming schooling delivery. As a news media organization, Learning Council is watching school after school after school, and we look at Reddit too, which is what a lot of AI pulls from, interestingly enough. Tons of statements about schools not being able to get enough teachers. I mean, literally empty classrooms everywhere. This is why transformation has to occur. It's literally not, schools can literally not execute on the model that they're in. They can't put an adult human in every classroom. They can't cover every subject. It's a real problem. All right, so that's the new statement. It's on the website now. This is what is Omni-AI. It's the next level above the narrow AI use right now. So 87% of teachers are using AI in some capacity right now. They're not maybe using it very sophisticatedly, but they're definitely a lot of use. So this is the whole map of what Omni looks like in terms of all the types of known AI now. Pulsar AI, which we were investigating last week, Roland was helping me do that, is not a standalone type of AI. It's a convergence of several types of algorithms, some of them which are in AI, to perform in the consumer level markets. We think it will be coming into the education space soon. It essentially uses sentiment analysis to wrap social emotional interface in AI to the student so that how they're delivered messages and how messages are interpreted by the AI are based on the normal mood or the changed mood of the individual student. That's where that term liquid curriculum comes from. Okay, so that's going to be another development that we want to go deep into. This is what Omni-AI, this is how we represent it, sort of like the building blocks of Omni-AI. It's the thing between the things, it's the circles. So right now there's a lot of things in the market. There's a lot of systems, you know, Paula, you represent one of the companies in the market. You've got infused AI in your product. Yours would be one of the products. There would be another AI that would be above. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's what this is all about. And it's about this because of the problems with schools and the problems with the edtech industry being sidelined. We ran a analysis. We used AI to help run this analysis. The prediction right now, and this is why we're appealing to companies to become members and everybody hold hands and push forward. 17,000 companies in the US alone, 80,000 companies worldwide just in edtech. That doesn't include the Microsofts, the Googles, the Ciscos, the big guys that are not purely edtech. 80,000 companies global, 17,000 in the United States. The expected kill rate at a mild scenario is to lose 4,000 companies by 2035. the heavy scenario is to lose 10,000. So when we're approaching companies, we're saying, listen, as schools move to use AI, they're going to start sidelining every other content they have, all the apps, everything that you're using, right? Except for yours, Chalks, because it's a mobile app, right? So if they can sideline something, they're going to do it because money pressure. They have to learn so many systems. They already have an average of 250 logins a person. It's ridiculous. They don't want to do it. It's easier just to type something in or learn a template, right? This is a serious thing for the industry. It also would be a very serious loss to the market in terms of the sophistication of the quality. So we're going to start taking this data straight to the market to tell companies, listen, you better join. I don't care what you think, you can stand alone, you won't be able to. This tsunami is too serious. You need to hold hands with others and go forward. So that's going to be our basic message. This is the other urgency driver shown in a different way. I've had this on other slides before, but we're going to also promote this, is that the 5-year loss to public school is going to be from 82% of enrollment down to 49%. California lost 325,000 students in just a few years. They're still losing.
So, Leilani, like some of these stats were based on what research? Just wanted to see what's the.
Well, we put in the Learning Council base research because we do a major national survey on like what's happening with your attrition and how many students. Then we extrapolate that based on size of district, right? Like we range them large, medium, small. If large, this number we're losing X, then let's extrapolate that to the rest of the large, right? Etc. So that's how we did that. 2/3 of traditional public schools lost enrollment, according to federal data already. So this is continuing right now. And we need 1 million teachers, 407,000, almost 500,000 current teaching jobs are not filled by certifieds. This is serious. These are really serious problems. And it's not going to go away anytime soon. So our primary membership gains are the top two. For companies, it's like defense of your product. It's as simple as that. Defend your product, keep your company alive, right? And if you think maybe just AI infusion is a nice idea, that's really nice. But regular mainstream, Google, Microsoft, they don't care about crafted content. They don't care about all the libraries of stuff out there. They just want to sell directly to the consumer. And that $25 to $250 a year fee or more is coming for you. And then the schooling institutions, it's looking at how they can shift model because they have to seek efficiency. Ellen, I'm hoping you can pipe up on that. What is your thought about that? Is that going to drive membership? Are people are you, I know you're looking, but what do you think about all the other superintendents you know?
We aren't fast-moving people. So I think that's part of what you run up against is that our systems are so slow that a lot of what you talk about is so far outside of kind of our realm of reasonableness that it's hard to attach to.
Yeah,
That's what
that's
I
why we want.
appreciate about this conversation, but it's also what's hard about our profession.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm trying to attach companies, more companies into it who can do the distillation for you. And like one of the things that I want Roland's group on the tech side of this committee is to build like a little mini architecture. Like if you're going to seek this model, this is the stuff. This is what the model would do. This is how you defend it. This is how you try to go get funding for it. I want, because that level of detail, obviously, Ellen, you can't just live in the clouds, right? So I totally agree with you. Okay, so those are the main two, and then there's the other ones. The example districts we found this week that are actually using AI, this is just a handful of them, and what they're doing with it. And we sent everyone these slides, I believe. This is the example districts that are closer to Omni-AI than pretty much anyone else. And why? Probably Gwinnett's closer than most. Cobb County should be on here too. I don't know why we didn't put them on here, but administratively, Cobb is probably one of the top leaders.
I have a
in
question
Georgia.
on that, Leilani.
Okay.
So these 4, potentially 5 districts that are outliers, would you say that that came from internal? They had a leadership that wanted to do
Yeah.
this, or was it external?
Internal.
Because something that Alan mentioned a moment ago, she doesn't feel like her district is prepared. You might, from just past technology initiatives, there's probably a database out there of districts that we know are kind of at this level. That might be there's more outliers out there. And that means that externally we could go out and find them because they're prepared.
Yeah. Well, I think that, One EdTech and EdFi Alliance are going to know the most innovative in terms of the people that are stringing the most APIs. Shocks, you're going to know a lot of them too, because you've got a lot of those people using your app right now that are stringing, a lot of APIs feed into that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Yasna. I see that. Yeah, so the places that are already creating some complexity of sharing data within themselves across multiple apps, they're the ones that we would suspect are the closest to try to leap up to Omni, right? As long as Omni-AI cores are well defined, which I think we're getting close. These are the funding potentials. Nothing really new here. We'll probably find a lot more. But in terms of school transformation, like changing your model and also technology, these are the main ones. And then I want to make sure all you guys know you should go make a profile, an educator or company agent profile, and then look for this group and join. This is where we're going to start putting all the assets as a library, and we also want you to do your post of your weekly observation so that we can share it out in the newsletter. Like a tip for a teacher, a tip for an administrator, a tip for a learner. We're going to start compiling those in the newsletters that go out every week. So it's crowdsourcing of newsletter, basically. All right, so our Schooling Transformation Urgency Committee, Dr. Doug Hendricks can't be here today. So Ellen, I'm calling on you to essentially be my go-to person on this. I'm not surprised we don't have a lot more members in today because we're still in the first week of school for most people. But as we move forward into fall, we should see a lot more engagement. We are definitely getting more members. By the way, we're at 400 now. We think we can get to 4,000 by early spring. That's what we're driving towards. Okay, so this group is supposed to drive the schooling urgency, the schooling transformation urgency. And so we're looking at like, how do we get a tip for the week? Can you think of anything, Ellen? Should we talk about what would be good to tell people from the Omni-AI viewpoint, like administrative tip? What are your thoughts? Investigate, join the group?
There you go. I'd have to think about that. I
Okay.
have to kind of go back in and think. I don't have a thing on the top of my head.
Okay,
I have a thought
And
on
then
that,
review-
Leilani.
go ahead.
I think it's just an educational component. We just need to educate them on what it is and what it can do. I think there's this group here. We're light years ahead, I think, of most administrators out there that they don't even know what we're talking about yet. So I think just simple educational tips, showing examples, giving real world ideas of what's possible without overwhelming them, I think is a good first step for the first 6 months of this process,
Maybe year.
maybe year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might have a lot of people want to attend the national and the regional meetings just to find out what it is. Like, what are we talking about? What are the models?
So Rudy,
Okay, and then this,
what would some of
Go ahead.
those like just incremental steps be? So, Leilani's talking way up here about the possibilities. So what would
Yeah, Ellen, I would say, just comparing the technology to other things that you do know about, like the cloud drives, like the internet, like, just things that you're already using, and put this in context. Where does AI fit in the spectrum of technologies that's going to be used to help automate or simplify educating students? And so just, and then once you understand what it is and kind of how it ranks compared to other, technology things that have changed the world, then you start getting to understand, okay, I see how it's important. And then start showing examples of, what are the different LLMs. Like right now, I think the big talking point would be around Google, because most districts that are Google districts, those tools are included. So that's kind of low hanging fruit right there. You don't have to go buy enterprise licenses for OpenAI or Claude. You already have it. And so the security piece is already taken care of. You want to build on this. So how can that tool be used, by administrators, and to set up those guardrails? I'm not sure if that's even a topic that's been brought up at all, Leilani. You want to, protect the data that's being used. You don't want to, the state standards from another state. You want to use your state standards. You want to use our national standards, and then whatever textbooks. So there's different ways to start seeing how the LLM could, create better quality data and better quality outputs. And then what are,
Yeah.
I mean, just basic terminology. I think Ellen
Yeah.
would be real helpful in the beginning.
Yeah, and there is a chapter that we started in the white paper, the sort of manifesto, that gives like what are your stakeholders, what are the communities, what's expected, and then there's a quick win in here, like how to get quick wins. I think there's another whole section to address that specifically, Ellen. But those are the things I need outsiders to take a look at. Like, what are we talking about here? These are the overall chapters, right? So let me show you that. What is the premise of Omni-AI? Are you guys seeing this? Am I sharing my document?
Yeah.
I sent everybody a
I
link,
see
a
it.
review link. Okay. And then the outcomes, the case for urgent action, the fact that AI demands we fix the historical structural inequities right now, it's pushing it. What is the entropy, inertia, and the fragmented, bizarre marketplace? The levels of impact, envisioning new schooling models, and the draft technical schema, then information about growing human capacities, and then the schooling leadership. I think one of these is definitely it has a little bit of address to stages. Like, what are your baby steps, Ellen? Because that's what you're really asking. What's the baby steps, right? 1, 2, 3. I think the baby step you have right now is what Ernie was talking about, but also anybody else want to weigh in then? I think it's an inventory of what you already have in order to know where you could go. It's also probably looking at these new models. This one's flex logistics. I know you heard me talk about that, Ellen. Another one is this new form of schooling called lounge schooling. And then a la carte schooling, which is already developing in states where you can disaggregate your service offerings. So it's not like I have to be a full-time student. I can just associate for 1 or 2 classes and then be on the sports team, that kind of thing. The matrix model, the pulsar model. Pulsar is most advanced thought leadership there is in the market. So those are the models and the features. And so you have to say, okay, what do I want to do? What's unique to my local area? And then what are the baby steps? Some of those baby steps are also in the chapter. I'm hoping Roland's going to fully get it. Like, what does this thing look like? This is the thing that is Omni. It's a mind that would sit above all the rest of the stuff that you already use and tell you things like, oh, the reason that this kid is, I've said this story before, the reason this kid's late for school every day and behind in language is because his little brother's bus doesn't arrive on time. And so then he walks to school because his mom told me he has to wait until his brother gets on the bus. So he's always late. That's why he's behind. Those are the things you don't discover in a regular system. But an Omni mind with access to the busing system and the LMS and the SIS, it would know. It would automatically already know. So
Yeah, I think Lauren, I mean, you and I chatted, and we started doing at Bloom's some of the things to make it real in terms of what the AI could do, right? In terms of answering specific things, escaping, it's like an agent also, so it's actually does things for you. So maybe the scenarios that we are, for example, working on is, the key questions right now, like parents, for example, have all these questions that about their specific child, but also the policies of the schools and what's happening in the school district and so on. Right now, it's kind of some of this information is probably on the website somewhere, but it's not in a way that's easy to pointed answers to their questions. So one of the things that we're doing is that AI interface where parents can get answers to their questions using the assets that schools and districts have, and then going into scenarios where um, I want to know what is my child, how is my child doing, and then there, as like there are multiple data points for the child, like there's attendance, there is behavior, there is grades, there's you know other types of interactions that the student is having in terms of the engagement with the various systems. So it can actually start to use all of that data to make meaningful choices or information made visible, simplified, like to the point. It's like what I get from ChatGPT, where like I don't have to keep asking 10 things to make sense of it. I could ask in a most comprehensive way, and then it can make sense of all the data. So, Alan, I think from the perspective of being a vendor here, bringing in the perspective, what Leilani is presenting is the future, but districts can start making baby steps to embrace AI in ways to improve what you're doing. So this is like the phase one of the inefficiencies in the way that you're doing, and then gradually the models in which you empower the students to deal with things, models in which you empower the parents to deal with things, and models in which you empower the staff to deal with things. So I think that's probably what you're presenting, Leilani. I think maybe giving examples of more and more examples will, because sometimes picture is worth 1,000 words, and proof is more guiding factor for people to connect the dots. So, but yeah, I think that's where I think we can start giving more samples, more examples. I can give you some examples from our use cases and customer scenarios, and I think the more we educate them, as Ernie said, with examples, people's imagination will start becoming reality. Like not everybody can think in abstract words, but when we start seeing the examples, then things will become more real, and then they can extrapolate more and more.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's definitely stages. So when we're talking about where it's going, Omni-AI is as a nascent mind structure to answer all your administrative woes is a thing that sits above the thing in between the things, right? There are apps that are doing it as monoliths, and there are a lot of places. I know because I talked to the CEO of Authentica this past week, doing stringing APIs everywhere, and they've already started to build that structure in many places.
Yeah, I'm working with Russell Long. You're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely they're getting close, and they're not the only ones. Like School Day is doing a lot of that work and a lot of other places. But I think you're right. For Ellen and for a lot of superintendents, we're just speaking tech speak, right? It's like, well, what? Right? Ellen's probably going, okay. But I think it starts with that. What do I want to be? What are the potentials, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm here and you're talking way up here. What is like my baby step? And I think that's going to be a lot of hard work by this group to do that. Yeah.
We need to play checkers first before we play chess.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. So I think we're good with that. I will make sure you have that link to Ellen to comment on, because I think automatically we need to add a different section there. Like, what are the steps? Right? And I think it's choose model essentially first. Like, what do you want to be? Are you going to try to stick to the traditional factory model? Or are you going to try to alter that slowly over time? Or are you going to try to, are you going to do a mutate, or are you going to rip and replace? Right? Like, and then what does that look like? So that's key. And then the other things, there's a slide in here that just goes over what those 5 newest models are, but we all know there's a million models out there. schooling models, right? Montessori and everything else you could possibly dream up. But almost every one of them, when they call themselves a model, is saying whole group. And whole group is extremely expensive on your staffing. You have to have an adult body in the room with a closed door in every room. And that's not going to work much longer. That's the main pressure point there. So it'd be good for Ellen, it'd be good if you glanced over these and, you know, ask any question about them. What are your thoughts right now on those? You're probably reading them, right?
Yeah, I haven't taken a dive to have thoughts on them. I mean, I agree we have to do something different. When you were talking about the pulsar, it's extremely interesting. How would you get the humans to understand it well enough to use it?
Yeah, I wish Roland was on here, but maybe Chuck can talk about this. If you're familiar with like Copilot that's embedded in Microsoft right now, Copilot is and ChatGPT, once you're paying for it, is essentially building a dossier on you. It's getting to know you. Like I use ChatGPT a lot. I can ask it a question referencing something I asked it 3 months ago, and it knows and pulls that data up, right? It doesn't always do it very accurately, I hate to say, but and I have to remind it, yeah, about this, right, or whatever. But essentially, if you had a wraparound AI on the individual student that they provided you access to as an affiliation into your systems would then feed off that information and wrap around personalization and modification. Does that make sense? That's a beautiful thing, because it will learn to speak that person's language, you know, be emotionally wrapped around it. And, you know, you can actually tell most of those AI systems how you want it to talk to you, like in a something accent, and it will, right? And it'll like, oh, if you tell it to always be cheerful with you, it will. What are your thoughts on that?
I think this is the ideal holy grail of, you know, where every student's ideal personalized learning process. For that, you know, it can continue to learn in terms of what the student has gone through, what the learning is, what the challenges were, and so on. And then it's a profile maintained, and then you have this kind of maybe augmented RAG model, which means like, you know, you have certain data that is outside of that identity or the profile of each student. And this is what the AI can do is like, okay, now it has some knowledge about this person. Now you're giving me a new asset. Then it can do triangulation of, okay, this student has these challenges. This asset seems like the best one to appropriately meet that need. So that's what we're talking about is like, you know, this is still theoretical, but there is practical aspects to it already, that is possible. Like
Yeah.
I use that, let's say, in, you know, chat GPT myself. Let's say I'm prospecting on a superintendent like Ellen. Like, you know,
Yeah.
first of all, you have already a social media profile. Plus, you know, you have some documents on your website that you have articulated, your videos that you have done and whatnot. So now I already have, you know, the AI can go after all of that and then make sense of, okay, well, these are the problems Ellen is caring about.
Right.
These are her, you know, ambitions. These are the needs and whatever. Like, so it has got this mental model of what Ellen cares about. And now
Right.
if I look at it and then say, okay, now how do I pitch balloons to Ellen? I'm just giving you a practical way for you to think about, you know, how you could think about the same problem being applied on a student level. But I'm giving you a business problem that I deal with day in and day out. It's like, okay, how do I make balloons, you know, what we solve for makes sense for Ellen? Now,
Yeah.
you would resonate right away if I tell you, I mean, obviously I didn't do that groundwork before this coming here, but if I knew your profile and then say, okay, Ellen cares about this, 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 and then those problems are better solved by balloons in this way. Now,
Yeah.
if I get an email like that, or if I get a call like that, or if I get some attention like that, I think I would open it. I mean, I being a business owner myself if somebody tells me that, hey, here is how I can scale your business 10x, these are exactly what you are looking for, and then this is how we do it, or at least I would give it time, right? So it's the same
Right.
concept here, is that, for every student, if it starts to understand exactly where the student's needs are, and then it can also look at the asset of resource, and it can, make sense of, how best it fits. Maybe of the X number of resources, it can figure out which resource is a better fit than the other one. So it starts to make it really, really intuitive. And even for the student, it's
Yeah.
like natural. Yeah.
But Chuck, one of the things I'm thinking with, as Ellen, you were gravitating to this, the thing that most teachers can't do because they're running 6 units and they've got 200 and some kids. They can't remember everything about every kid in order to be able to say, how you really like, speed cars or whatever, or motorbikes, how you like that. Well, let me give you this example, math, whatever. They can't remember all that. It's not a human job. But I also know that if you had to craft an architecture for Pulsar that would allow you access to the outside known wraparound AI to an individual, the policy level implications and the legal sign off would be something to be reckoned with, right? But the gain could be enormous. There was a story on X just this last week about a student who told ChatGPT why they were going to commit suicide. And the mother found it. Now, if a school had access to that level of chat going on, you could intervene. But now again, think about the policy implications here. If you didn't. So Pulsar is going to have some really tricky policy issues that the regular AI does not. Like just using it for learning and not having access to it. There are some systems now in the market that allow you to access what the student typed in direct response to a specific question that you routed to them, and then what their feed was and how they altered it. But having access to everything else they've been doing, no. But the full vision of Pulsar would do that. It would allow you to be a little wraparound particle moving from school to school with your own records everywhere, which is wild. But what attracted you to you first, Ellen? What's happening that made that a thought attractive?
Probably it seems the most human aspect of it. So trying to wrap in the emotional intelligence. So it's not just, ChatGPT telling me this or that or the other, to actually personalize the instruction based on who that child is. That's what we try to do as humans. So it's exciting and scary all at the same time because of all the reasons you just said. So if it's, how do we know it's contained? How do we know the data is private? All of those pieces have to be in place as well.
Yeah, there's probably potential here also to tip off teachers. So if the teacher's like, I'm going to go visit Johnny on what he's doing in math, blah, 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 because he's behind, and they're using their little iPad in class, like what to do about Johnny's running behind. And the AI automatically tells the teacher a tip, like ask him about his recent trip here and relate the lesson to that, right? Like that would be like super awesome for teachers.
Right. So it's like a coach on the side. Yeah, that would be,
yeah.
That would be exciting, right? That would be helpful.
Yeah.
Can I share a more an optimistic perspective on this?
Yeah.
But what Leilani was explaining a moment ago is training the AI. You're training it on who you are and what you think and what you want and how you learn and what you like, what you don't like. It's when you train your AI, like Leilani and I, we've probably both been working with ChatGPT for a few years from the early days. So like what you were saying, Leilani, I could ask my ChatGPT some very detailed questions and I get some amazing output. Like it's like an expert on me. It's like a second brain.
Yeah.
So the earlier we start training these AIs for our students, each individual student, and what makes them tick as a person. Right now their job is to be a student, right? But there's also the social emotional issues that the AI could step in on. But the sooner we start training it, the more valuable that AI will become down the road for that student through their learning journey, for them finding the right college, for them finding funding for college, for them, if they're going on vacation, what kind of things can they do while they're on vacation? And it's something that could live with them forever. And brought up a good point. The data at some point, there has to be a partnership with the parents, because there's some very personal data here. And when that student moves from school to school, from state to state, that we want that data to stay with them wherever they go. They're training their AI for life. Maybe one day it helps them find the right college or the right partner or the right medical care or the right financing for their new home. The AI, if we do this right, could really be that partner. What you were mentioning, Ellen, that assistant or whatever. Eventually, these AIs might have a voice and a face, like that little angel on their shoulder. That there's really, we're at the very infancy of this. And if this is all built out correctly, it could be a very powerful partner for all of us for the rest of our lives. And if we could help students have this powerful, positive entity behind them on their journey through life, it could be a game changer, big time.
Yeah, but the architecture of this, I think, initially is going to try to limit it to your school personality and not your outside personality. That's why my bet that schools will try to do, because the legal ramifications of having full access to everything about you could be really tricky.
But what if you're a parent? What if you're a parent, you wanted to use that data for more stuff? I mean, I just see that there's this possibility. I'm a parent, and I know that my son's always talking to ChatGPT. I love it. They have conversation. It's learning about him. And sometimes I'm not always there. So it's, I pay attention to what's going on. But yeah, there's some other long-term benefits that we might just barely be touching on right now.
Yeah, and portability is going to be an issue for the wallet or the co-pilot, right? The individual person's co-pilot. Perpetual access, equity to a higher level of co-pilot, right? Or your individual instance, the ability for things like outside apps, chalks, to access that portfolio, that wallet. There's just a lot of things here to talk about, but the only way you can, as a human teacher, be really there with a student is what you were observing, Ellen, I think. You got to know people. It's really hard to know people well when you're given 30 seconds a day to, I mean, and it's so hard on your heart as a teacher. Anyway, so we need to study these. We need to flesh them out. We need to give potentiality to them. The red light, green light in each area, like what you're going to run into if you go this way, when you're going to run it, okay, so I'm going to move on from there. And then the edtech landscape, this is the one Roland runs. Chalks, you're standing in for Roland today from the Techie View.
Yeah.
Can you email me or Doug your tech point observation of the week for the newsletter?
Yeah, I'll work on that. I mean, I think.
Yeah.
So again, just wanted to share one thought connecting the previous points is that most of the times people struggle with making the leaps from point A to point B. If you don't, like for example, your vision is that eventually the model of schooling will change. I think in order for schools to really see that happening is first for them to embrace the AI in a limited form right now, frankly.
Yeah, but they are. I don't think we can stop that train from moving.
Yeah, that's where the enabling of AI in some of the frameworks that you currently. So, for example, a teacher being a better teacher, a student being a better student, and a parent being a better parent is probably, and an administrator being a better administrator, because it's like, I'm running a company. I'm still doing the sales, marketing, product development, everything. But with the AI, I'm doing everything much more effectively. Right? Now that's starting to open up new perspective, saying that, you know what, at some point, if the AI advances to a level, can I now replace this model of doing things with a new model of doing things? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to ask Paula to comment on that because Learning Genie isn't an AI infused system, right, Paula? What's your comment?
Right. We're working. It's an agency AI, and we're working a lot with the agency of the students, so their voice can be heard in the classroom, and it's easy for the teachers. So yeah, I think that what you just said, Leilani, that it's really difficult for a teacher to know everything about their students if they have more than 200 students. But with our tool, we're trying to make that possible in the most simple and easy way for the teachers, because we don't want to overload them. Okay, because AI is here and it's going to stay, and it's not like it must be seen as a tool, as a partner, but not to like another thing to be worried about in the classroom. So what we're doing right now is working on agency-based learning, making the classes appealing for the students, so they feel like connected with the lesson and with the teacher and with their classmates. And always keeping up all the state standards and the POG and all of it. So yeah, I think that it is important. I think that people should be aware of the pros and cons of artificial intelligence and all and everything that it's involved with it. But I think there are really good tools, and they are here to take a ton of time away from the paperwork,
Yeah.
So less paper.
Yeah, what I like about what I saw so far with you guys is there's a lot that can go wrong with just buying an open, ChatGPT at business scale for a school versus using a system, an app like you guys have, or Paolo, a system like you guys have, because you're framing the workflow, which
Yeah.
reduces the amount of professional development that you have to do to get teachers to understand scripting in AI or students to understand scripting in AI and the grading problem, because you can't see what's going on in their system. I don't know if Microsoft or Google are ever going to solve that, but this wallet issue is going to be an integration thing, I'm sure, in the near future.
Yeah, this is almost the same analogy that I would give, like, when social media came in, obviously there was a Facebook. Everybody thought that that's all everybody needed. And then the use cases, the verticalization started happening, right? On the business side, on the, education side and so on. Now you start figuring out that there's privacy, there is security, there is access, there is authentication, resources, and all those things. You start adding all these other variables, then automatically it starts to look like a different animal. It has some aspects of it, but it is not the same. And that's the opportunity for all the tech companies, is to really take that great technology out there and the concept there, but then make it applicable where it's, as I think Paula said, like, it doesn't add burden. It's easy. It's like a Staples easy button. Like, you just put it in. It does a lot of things for you, protects you, but at the same time empowers you and enables you. I think that's the purpose of why we can't just put a chat GPT or a Gemini as is and then assume that schools will figure it out. It just won't work, right? Because you have to have the guardrails, you have to have workflows, you have to have oversight, all those things. I mean, it's the same core needs that keep becoming relevant in the new framework.
Well, I think that a lot of them are trying that. I mean, all the evidence in the market is they've got this huge edtech stack, LMS, another LMS, 3 other LMSs in their other schools, right? Student information system, financial, 67 apps and just math, right? Like, and a bunch of other ones. And then content libraries and all this other stuff. And maybe a mobile app from you, right? So they got all that stuff. And then they're over here, they're just doing enterprise licenses with the mainstream AI. And then they're getting together and having hours and hours and hours of PD and hiring outside companies to write policy with them and and not necessarily going down the road of the actualized for education systems, right? Which is also a mistake, right? But then above that, you have this whole other conversation. So do me a favor, you guys on the tech side, Ernie, you should do this too, Paula, you too, but review the paper because I may be missing whole sections in that paper. The paper's job is to say to people who want to be members, what is this group looking at, right? What am I going to get involved in? Not to give every single answer, right? But to go, oh, they were smart enough to at least think they got to do something about this, right? Like, or they have a good researched reason why they exist, right? So that's really the purpose of that paper. It's not to give every single answer. And then, of course, this is the schema. And then somebody wrote in the paper a comment like, don't we need an antecedent to this as to what Omni would be doing? And I don't know really how to answer that. Chalks and Ernie and Paula, I'm expecting you guys to go in that paper and see that comment and let me know what you're thinking. And Roland will get on it too. And so well, I had quite a few other conversations this past week with other tech people that will get into that. And then we have to address, and Ernie, you might help me with this, and others might help me. It looks like we might have lost someone. Yeah, we lost someone. That's okay. What about the physical environment? When you look at, we have to look at all the models and go, what does this physical space now look like? Because I know the one with Time AI would use flight boards everywhere, right? Like you'd have to have digital signage because there is no normal classroom period anymore. You'd also necessarily have to have video conferencing and probably camera tracking of lecture style or discussion style in every classroom. You'd have to do something about discipline. If the homeroom doesn't work for certain students, they'd have to have an independent homeroom where they have more severe oversight with, little corrals they can study in. But the physical look of the environment for every new model, and certainly the 5 that we've put up, researched, are not the only ones. So that will be the work we have to do. Okay, so over to you, Ernie. This is your group that you're running. This is the how do we achieve recognition of the need to balance AI with humanity? How do we imagineer the new job roles with the new models? How do we get everyone trained? How do we adopt technology to have better curriculum and instruction? Those are all that's the big blob on that group to start talking about, making sense of. We need to invite new leaders into this side of the group. I mean, there's a lot that are members now that are not unfortunately on this call. But what are your thoughts?
My first thought is I have a problem with the word balancing.
Okay.
They're not balanced. They're like two AI and human intelligence are at two completely different levels. So maybe it's aligning, elevating human intelligence with AI. That statement should be addressed. And then I think there's a lot that could go into that. And I think primarily you would look at it from an administrator standpoint, a teacher standpoint, and a student standpoint. There's going to be 3 different levels of how that tech is going to impact those different levels. And then for job roles, I mean, that's going to be exciting. And I think that should be a real highlight is how, right now I tell people a lot of times we're not preparing our students anymore just to compete with each other. They're going to be competing with robots and AI. How do we make that more clear? And how do we do that? I'm excited about this opportunity, Leilani. There's some good stuff that could happen here. And I'm going to be doing a lot of blogging, and that's how I will showcase some of my ideas. And I'll share that, of course, with you and Doug and get that word out.
Yeah, I'd like your thoughts on that area, because in my mind, my biggest worry in the curriculum and instruction arena is the wholesale loss of the quality of some of the existing content out there, the companies. in the research that is already cited in the paper, the majority of job losses in the edtech field are going to be instructional designers and all the content companies. Vast majority, like massive job loss.
Well, it's going to make the
won't-
teachers instructional designers. It's going to take that skill set down to their level because now they have the tools to do it.
Yeah, they become the, that's what happened, right? The prompt engineering, or in a way,
Yeah.
like instructional engineering.
Because if you think about it, you're a teacher with 30 students, you have one lesson plan, and you try to modify it the best you can for those 30 students. Now that's going to be flipped. You're going to have 30 different variations, and the AI is going to help you do that and manage it and assess it and improve on it. It's going to automate. It's that's where the real, I think, value for a teacher comes in, and students will benefit from this absolutely as well. This has been the dream forever, personalizing instruction for every student. Now it's at a push of a button.
Yeah. And I
yeah,
think, go ahead. Len.
my thinking though, as soon as we talk about that, I just want to give you the pushback that I hear from the field, right? Like when I'm on the road with all the events that we do in the field, the first pushback is like, yeah. But now my mind goes to, you're talking about all online learning, you're talking about individual pathways. Is the kid going to intersect with the human teacher at all? The real worry in the schools is like, why do you need a human teacher anymore? So they're pushing back, right? Because they don't understand model shift in terms of what would be my new role, and how does this elevate me to use my humanness more, right? Those things have to be very clear to people, and I don't think they are. I think what they're experiencing right now in education is a whole panel of more professional development to learn to be a script writer and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Here's how I would answer that, Leilani.
Okay.
It's inevitable there will be replacement of teachers with technology eventually. That the homeschooling thing, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But for the teacher that wants to maintain that more human classroom, or the school district that wants to do that, what the AI is going to do, it's that contact point between content and learner is going to be better, because the quality of the content is going to speak to the student better, and the teacher is going to be in charge of coordinating that.
And inspiring you to do your work, right? And actually being human and listening to you.
It's going to give you the ability to replicate yourself with personalization for each individual student. And when the student interacts with that lesson, it's going to be personalized for them. And the student next to them is going to have a different version of the lesson personalized for them. It's just going to help them be better at what they do. And ultimately, the student will learn better because it's built exactly for them, their learning levels, their interest levels, and maybe it's more video based, maybe it's more assessment based, maybe it's more collaborative. However the student learns better, I see the classroom having different groups of students that learn in similar ways, and some of them will work together, some of them will work individually, some of them will never stand up and talk in class, but they'll be able to maybe create a video on what they want to say, and the video will present for. I mean, it's just going to be a different way of creating content, and the teachers are going to be the orchestrators with these AI tools we're building, and the students are going to benefit. And as we prepare these students for the future, when we see what jobs are going to be in demand, we could start applying that learning model closely to training them. I would, if I was a university, I'd be concerned. Today, if I was a university because it's going to be less and less required to go to university, because we could teach them all the skills in a K-12 environment, most likely, probably.
Okay, final word, Jocks.
Yeah, no, I think I just wanted to echo some of the thoughts that Ernie shared, which is we've always talked about the teachers becoming facilitators, right? Particularly in the K-12, where the student is not trained yet to ask what is the next thing that they need to know. Like, for example, right now, using ChatGPT, I'm able to ask what I don't know, even though it suggests that I also know when to go this way versus that way, because there is a little bit of that intelligence been trained. I think that is the piece that young kids are obviously going to miss. So they don't know where to go next. And that's the facilitation and enablement that the teachers will end up playing. particularly. And then to the point when they get to this maybe college level, the kids are trained by then in terms of how to start asking the right questions themselves,
Right.
and to guide themselves in the right way to use AI in terms of what they need to do. So yeah, I mean, I think that's in that way, teacher's job is going to change, but it's not. It's the traditional way the Indian culture, like we used to have a guru. The word guru comes from that. So this person knows what are the affinities, what is the consciousness level of each person, and then would assess and then say, okay, now you need to do this, you need to do this, so that assessment is still somewhat human.
Right. Okay, well, I think we're at time. And Paula, you and I have another call to get onto, right? Well, this has been really, thank you for that guru comment. That was really helpful because I totally got your concept on that. Okay, we got this done. We need our feedback. We need to drive new membership. And thank you guys for being on this. This will get edited and then go live right out to the whole newsletter. And then we'll have another 2 meetings next month. All right. So we'll keep this growing.
Excellent.
Thank you guys.